So here we are in the middle of the season after the Epiphany, one of our two longer green seasons where we have more generic kinds of readings. But of course, the season after Epiphany still dwells on that idea of light. Arise, shine, for thy light has come. The appearance of the star that led the Magi to the Christ child. We keep those on, and it's not a coincidence that we really fixate on the light of the world, Christ being the light on the world, here at the darkest time of the year. And in this week's cycle of readings, we have this recurring theme of light in both the lesson that we will read as well as the gospel. The gospel also goes into talking about being the salt of the earth, and I think actually our deacon, Jerry Askew, is going to be seizing more about salt in his sermon than about light. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of music about light, about salt, so we're going to be focusing much more on the light and holding on to that. And we'll just let Jerry's words be a complement to some of the themes that we have in our music. And I thought that it might be a little bit interesting to go in a little bit more depth about some of the procedures that are in general in play in our hymns. So we're going to come in singing a Welsh tune with the text, "Thy strong word did cleave the darkness." So you'll notice right off that it's in the minor mode. And a lot of times we think minor is sad and major is happy. And in the Welsh tradition, that's not the case at all. This is a very cheery, upbeat tune, and I hope that it doesn't feel anything like a dirge. We'll certainly want to sing it with a nice pep and a nice upbeat step as we process in. And the text is certainly not dark or dismal at all. It talks about how God's word came into the world in the person of Jesus Christ and separated the darkness and brought the lightness of God's love as an embrace to all of us. So if you pay attention to the words, you see how triumphant and hopeful and full of energy the words are, and the music just carries that along. Now, when we talk about hymn, a hymn is actually a poetic device. A hymn is a poem. It's not the music. The tune is something that is separate from it. And we can sing those words to any of a number of tunes. We don't have to sing it to that tune. That's the tune that the hymnal editors chose. And if you look down at the bottom of the page, it has words and who wrote the words, the poet. And then it has music, and it has a name that is in italics, and this is true for every hymn in the hymnal. And that italics phrase or word, that is the name of the tune. So if you look at this in 381, it says music, and in italics it is ton I botol, and that's Welsh for the bottle tune. This was originally written in 1896. The tune was originally written in 1896 by a Welshman, and he named it Ebenezer, which was the saint that the chapel at the church where he was serving was dedicated to the saint of Ebenezer. But the tune got included in a Baptist hymnal pretty much right around the turn of the century, in the early 1900s. And they had this fanciful story that apparently they just made up out of whole cloth, that the tune arrived on the coast of North Wales in a bottle, like it was some grand mystical gift. This tune was given to the Welsh people, washed up on the shores, kind of like Robinson Crusoe, which is kind of a whimsical little story. And so it's become known as the bottle tune, ton I botol. But it's meant to have a lot of encouragement, a lot of triumph, and a lot of joy in it. So if we take some of those same ideas and look at the final hymn, we'll be singing, as we go out, another great text that talks about light. Christ is the world's true light, its captain of salvation. And so again, the hymn, the poem, is Christ is the world's true light. The tune that we'll sing it to is called St. Joan. And you can hear that fanfare motive that starts off the first, second, and fourth phrases of that tune. And it gives you that sense of triumph, fanfare, of announcing something that is really worth repeating. And then the text, of course, goes through and does exactly that, talking about Christ as being the light of the world. This is a new tune that was composed for these words, specifically for use in our hymnal. And it was written by a composer named Percy Collar. And if you look again at the music in italics, it says Saint Joan. A lot of our tunes are named after saints. This is a little bit of a double entendre because Percy Collar's wife is named Joan, and so it's named after a saint, kind of, but maybe he's a little bit of a handful to live with, and he feels like his wife might be a little bit of a saint as well for putting up with him. So I hope that helps untangle a little bit of the things that we talk about here in these videos and the things that we experience as we come together in worship. And we hope that you will come and experience the light of Christ with us at St. John's this weekend.